Hello, hello, I'm the official name raider. My job is to look through the first page of Google, review the nicknames provided by the internet, and then give my recommendations at the end. Today we're looking at Scyther, good pronunciation, Scyther and Scizor. If you are one of those pronunciation people who feel the need to get angry about everything, you've come to the wrong channel. So this is an interesting site I've never seen before, but it has nicknames in its ranking, and it's got some on here that, like, rock paper. I mean, that's okay, that's not bad. Wouldn't ever use it, but like, I can deal with it. Ruby I don't think is a good idea because of the Pokemon game itself. Iron Man is one I actually have on the list, and I like that, but I feel like you could easily argue gender specific. When I see clamps, I think of Futurama, the robot mafia, was it? I don't know. It was definitely a robot, and he had clamps, and that was his thing. And although I like that joke, I would never use it for a nickname. Switchblade isn't bad. I think it might fit Scyther a little bit more than Scizor, because Scyther's more blade than Scizor, but like, that's not bad. Now, Psycho Mantis, I'm pretty sure, is a Metal Gear character. So, like, I also kind of like where this is going, and I think that's okay, but I wish it was a psychic type. Then it would be perfect. Edward Scissorhands is too long and won't fit. Reaper, I like. I think that one's good. I honestly have it saved for Kabutops. And again, upon evolving, switching from blades to clamps kind of changes things a bit, so some of these don't quite work purely based on the evolution thing. Okay, Scarlet I'm half and half on, so I'm thinking about Mortal Kombat. I like Scarlet, and it is red in color, and Scarlet is one of those names where it's very hard to pinpoint down to a specific Pokemon, because they're not going to have anything centered around blood in Pokemon, just point blank. That's not going to happen, so it's very, very limited on what your options are. I like the idea, but I do think that is a very difficult thing to try and pin down to a specific Pokemon that it's going to fit. Malice is overall just a very good name. I have that one for my Salazzle. It gives me kind of the Bayonetta feeling, where like you can just take a word. I don't know how to describe it. Like, Bayonetta is just kind of the way I describe it. Like, where they'll have an enemy name, it'll be like something like hope or fear or like disdain, and it's a simple word that carries meaning and just sounds good, and Malice is kind of like that, so I think that works. You could apply that to anybody you want and it'll fit. Mars, I think, could work as well, because red in color, and that's kind of really about where it ends, and I think with Mars being as open-ended as it is, the only way it could possibly get any better is if you had it to a fighting type, then maybe. But in other words, I think Mars is probably one where it's hard to pinpoint, so it's very open-ended, and you could probably apply it to a lot of them. Bloody Mary works same thing as Scarlet. This is actually having a fair bit of decent nicknames on it. I'm actually kind of surprised. I wasn't expecting this. I'm not writing them all down, so just know probably none of these are going to appear at the end of the video, but these are some good suggestions. I like the idea of Bloody Mary, but it's got the same problem as Scarlet, where it's going to be very hard to pinpoint down to a specific Pokemon. And I'm unsure how I feel about Alucard, because I like the idea of it, but I feel like it probably doesn't fit Scizor that well. I also want to make fun of this real quick. There was this nice little scene in Dodgeball. I'd like you to meet my team players, when he's introducing the Globo Gym players. No, wait, that was Blaze. Shit, I thought it was Blade. Blade! Laser! Blazer! It's close enough, you're just one letter off, but that's what it made me think of upon reading this. Congratulations, Dodgeball. Maneater is actually a good nickname too. I think maybe that might be a little bit better for Victory Bell, if you wanted to use that. And Victory Bell doesn't have any good names, so that's like a start, but I don't think that's the best, just because I feel like that's a little bit on the nose. But if you wanted to apply Maneater to someone, Victory Bell's at least a good start. Tinsect is decently clever. I'm okay with this. Would not use, but is worth acknowledging and saying, hey, at least that guy had a smart idea. I kind of want to just acknowledge Doom Guy. Like, it has absolutely nothing at all to do with Scizor, but I don't hate the idea of a Doom Guy as a nickname. It's just funny to me. Just don't use it for Houndoom, then it won't be good, because then people would just be like, yeah, that doesn't seem very creative, but if you'd applied it to, like, anybody else, I think it'd be kind of funny. Like, my first thought's Blastoise, because Blastoise is the only one with a gun, but, like, Iron Chef is stupid and funny. Like, I would not use this nickname, but it was enough to make me notice it and feel the need to tell you about it. So that's something. Alright, we picked Kruger as the recommended one for Sandslash, and I still think that one tops it. So we're going to acknowledge it for Scyther, but again, I really think once you evolve it and it loses its, slicey bits, it becomes very irrelevant. But yeah, Kruger was a good name for Sandslash. I think the idea of Lawnmower would be much funnier if there wasn't already a Lawnmower Pokemon. I had to check this because I wasn't sure. I was decently sure, but yeah, Proto Man is a Mega Man reference, if you want that. We haven't really had any Mega Man references before, but this seems to be liked, so I'll acknowledge it. Now, I also do have Metalhead written down as a generic Steel-type nickname, because that's one where, like, I feel like I don't have many suggestions on that. I feel like majority of the generic type nicknames we've found have mostly been fire, water, and electric. So a steel one kind of stands out, and I do like the name Metalhead. So I like this, and I think you could apply it to anyone that's a steel type. So I at least want to acknowledge that. King Crimson's actually a good suggestion. I think my brothers suggested King Crimson as a nickname, but I don't know if it was ever brought up as to who, but I think that works with Scizor in the same way of, like, being able to do Scarlet or Mars because of its coloring. So I think that works. That's a reference to the band. So there's that. I've seen Saitama a few times along with some other sword names. They're not bad. I don't have a problem with them. I'm only acknowledging it because I've seen it like 3 or 4 times now. Like, it's there. I don't know. Alright, so we've reached the bottom, and majority of the stuff stumbling across has been kind of repeated on, like, either one of these 2 sites. So, like, these are it. And I'll tell you to go look through them yourself if you want to. But in other words, I've basically done it for you. So it's up to you how much of that is worth your time. Other words, check the spreadsheet. Yeah, there's nothing particular here that stands out to me. Just a bunch of things where it's like blades and stuff, and it's whatever. I'll be honest, like, we covered so much that I didn't feel the need to write them all down as they came, but I'm gonna try and summarize stuff as we did. So the ones I had written down prior to were Iron Man and Claw Games. Claw Games was one that Prince Boo used in his competitive PBR videos from way back in the day. I do kind of want to go through some of those videos and try to remember, because his nicknames were really good, and they were like part of the reason why I started to actually like this style of nicknames was because of him. I found them way more interesting than, doing it stadium style. As far as Claw Games itself, I don't particularly care for that as a nickname, but I feel like it's at least interesting enough to acknowledge. But other words, like, there was a lot of, Mars, King Crimson, Scarlet, okay, I guess those were the only 3 that actually stuck with me. I mean, there was a lot in the first bit, so, like, we definitely covered stuff. The Switchblade. There was just a lot of repetition or things that I didn't feel fit. So, like, surely you found at least one good nickname that you can roll with. Out of all of them, I think I like King Crimson the most. But, yeah, just try and find one that fits. I think the suggestions are good, and Yeah, just I didn't really like slash, slice, swipe, blade, slice. Like there's too much of that. That was the thing that bothered me. I did see Strike in there, and in case you didn't know, that was actually the beta name for Scyther. And I mean, it's okay. I don't particularly care for it. Like Strike, Striker, you could, but I feel like you would only really benefit from it if you wanted to spell it out the same way that the beta was. Then you could at least do that. Other words, that's it. Provide your own suggestions and ideas for Scyther. God damn it! I know how to say the name. Scyther. I can say it. I don't know why I put an OR at the end of it, but I do. Scyther and Scizor, because that's why, because it's OR there. Scyther and Scizor, your suggestions, your ideas, keep the discussion going while I meditate on how to correctly pronounce the name Scyther for the next hour. Scyther, 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 Scyther.